Tomorrow, the House is set to vote on a Senate-passed bill that includes $320 billion to replenish the PPP, Paycheck Protection Program, that is aimed at helping small businesses. And $60 billion of that money would be carved out for underbanked businesses, those that have had a hard time getting access to capital. Now, the new bill adds money, but it doesn't change the wording of the program. So larger, more established businesses can still game the system and take relief away from the companies who truly need the loans to survive. Our next guest says American small businesses are too big to let fail, that it is too important, and he thinks Congress needs to go much, much further. Howard Schultz says we need a Marshall Plan. And the former chairman and CEO of Starbucks joins me now. Howard, let's start right there. What do you think about the latest move, adding some money to the PPP program?
Well, Stephanie, thanks for having me. I commend Congress for the second round of PPP, but let me explain why it's not enough. There are 30 million small businesses in America that employ approximately 60 million people. Within that group, 500,000 independent restaurants employing 12 million people. Now, in your first segment, you demonstrated how difficult it's going to be to open up new businesses. Approximately 25 to 40% of parity will be the volume that most new businesses and independent restaurants will have. As a result of PPP, which is a good plan, good intent, but it's the wrong medicine, that will only get them through 8 weeks. The question in front of Congress is how do businesses, 30 million plus, open up and transform their business in a world in which there is not going to be enough revenue. And so what's needed is a bridge to the vaccine, and that is an economic plan in which the banks can have a resource to lend the money to every small business in which it's backed by the government. If this does not take place, if there's no Marshall Plan for small businesses and independent restaurants as each state reopens, what's going to happen is 30 to 40%, listen to this, 30 to 40% of small businesses and independent restaurants will close permanently. That will result in such economic carnage and also fracturing the social fabric of every neighborhood. The cost of not doing this is far greater than the bold decisions necessary. And in a sense, what I'd like to say is these businesses do not have the lobbying effort, that they do not have the voice in Washington. But if politicians believe what they say, that small business is the economic growth of our economy, they must be saved. And the question that everyone needs to understand, we have a 2 to 3 month period. After that, they will close, it'll be over, and we won't be able to get in touch with them. And so we need to facilitate a plan in which businesses, and most importantly, independent restaurants, get the funding to make it through for a bridge to the vaccine.
But should banks be the vehicle to do that? There are so many complaints right now that banks are prioritizing their customers. Of course they would. That is how banks work. Why wouldn't the government take this on themselves, fully fund the SBA? There are no reports about the SBA beefing up or creating more jobs to execute any of this. It shouldn't be a surprise that banks are operating this way. If the IRS can collect our taxes, why can't the government manage this? Then there wouldn't be prioritization.
Well, I completely agree with you. I mean, we can do this a number of ways. I don't want to argue with you, obviously, as to how we do it. The question in front of us is, this is something that must be done. The government can certainly overfund the SBA, which obviously does not have enough resources to take care of the problem. You've seen big restaurant companies and big businesses scam the system. Of course, we don't want to see that. But the question in front of us is we have a limited amount of time before there's permanent closure of almost 40% of businesses. And I know what I'm talking about. I built a national retail company. In '87, we had 11 stores and 100 employees. I was a small business. You operate under small margins month to month. They will not have enough money to make it through. PPP, more than anything else, is a vehicle to pay your people for 7 to 8 weeks. What happens after that? They won't have enough money to transform their business in an environment where they're only going to have 20, 30, maybe 40% of the volume that they've had in the past. These businesses are going to need financial help. And if Congress wants to maximize their investment of PPP1 and PPP2, then they have to provide more money, or else it's going to be a waste of money, the wrong medicine, and we're going to look back on that and realize what we really needed was to solve a long-term problem, and what we did was a short-term solution that did not work.
No doubt this next $310 billion will be gone in the blink of an eye. You are calling on Congress to have more oversight. But here's my question. Oversight of what? They set the rules. These big businesses that, whether it's Secretary Mnuchin or the president, are complaining shouldn't give the money back, they took the money legally. You can't hate the player. You're the one who set the rules of the game.
Well, of course, you're 100% right. But let's look at the macro issue, not the few that took advantage of it or the few things that are not working. The opportunity for Congress and the president is to recognize, if you believe what you say, that small business is the economic engine of the entire country, then you must save 60 million people who are employed and 30 million small businesses and 500,000 small independent restaurants. Save them. Do the right thing. If you don't, there's going to be economic carnage, the likes of which we have not seen before. And every community in America, the social fabric will be fractured as a result of these extraordinary small businesses, entrepreneurs, families. These are not just numbers of people. These are not numbers of business. These are hardworking people, families, entrepreneurs who have put their life savings, and to no fault of their own, they're faced with a permanent closure. We must save these businesses. We must save these families. If we don't, we're going to have a level of unemployment and economic carnage that is going to be so significant. And we only have a 2 to 3 month window before PPP runs out to save these businesses, or they will be permanently closed.
We're going to lose Main Street America. We could lose something else too, Howard, and I want to ask you about it. When you created Starbucks, the idea was to create this third space, this community where people can connect. We've talked a lot about how being isolated is impacting people's ability to socialize and harming our mental health. How concerned are you, as the person who truly understands, founded the idea of that third space, how concerned are you that we've lost it right now?
I think we've lost it in the interim. I think people are once again realizing and longing for the sense of humanity, for a sense of gathering, for human connection. Certainly, as each state and city reopens, there's going to be rules and regulations about making sure we're all safe and secure and staying healthy. But I have great faith in the American people, great faith in our system. There's going to be a day when we all come back together again. The third place, the gathering places, these restaurants, these small businesses, and companies like Starbucks, I think, will thrive because people will be longing for human connection.
Without a doubt. Howard, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for what you wrote. We got to save Main Street, USA.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.